These walls breathe dust, and I breathe in. They built this cage and sold a key, smiled for cameras, never looked at me. Just a number on a spreadsheet's page, another shadow a scream make a sound in the wood. When the prophets made and my soul's destroyed, they dreamed their wine and toast their name, while I'm consumed by all the righteous flame. But this fire in my blood won't turn to ash. Every crack in this foundation's gonna crash. I am more than the pain they made me be, and one day you will see. They can bury me in the sun. They can silence everyone. Our voices rise upon me flood. This is written in our blood.
Welcome. We are excited to announce the 2026 Dirty Dozen List, a cornerstone campaign of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. I'm Dr. Marcel van der Watt, and I'm joined by my colleague, Hayley McNamara. And our mission here at NCOSI is to prevent sexual exploitation and abuse at mass scale. And we do that through challenging institutional and cultural enablers or profiteers of sexual harm. And we address the full spectrum of sexual exploitation, and we do that within the spirit of non-partisanship and collaboration. The annual Dirty Dozen list is an event where we call out 12 mainstream entities for enabling, facilitating, and even profiting from sexual abuse and exploitation. Since its inception in 2013, the annual Dirty Dozen list has galvanized thousands of people like you to call upon and hold accountable corporate companies and other entities to do better.
The incredible news is that every year the Dirty Dozen list gets results. We've had victories in policy and practice changes at Netflix, Google, Verizon, Walmart, Hilton Worldwide, and more. You might remember that last year we took a turn and we put Section 230 on the Dirty Dozen list. Instead of naming 12 corporations, we named 12 survivors who were denied their day in court because of this outdated law that has been long misinterpreted by courts to give broad immunities to online platforms from liability. Last year, you took action. You contacted your representatives, and by the end of 2025, on the Senate side, they have introduced a bipartisan bill to sunset Section 230. Now, the work is not done. This is a momentous change. Momentum is growing. And so now we will turn again to putting 12 corporations and other entities on the Dirty Dozen list while we continue to advocate for the sunset of Section 230.
Thanks, Hayley. The stakes are high and the resistance is fierce. Last year, we revealed that a big tech company, one we all know, offered Nkosi more than $1 million in funding and additional benefits. There were strings attached, and we said no. It is your support that fuels the courage that is needed to continue showing up in this fight. And we invite you to continue journeying with us in this mission. Next up, we will reveal the Dirty Dozen list for 2026. That will be followed by a discussion of at least 3 of the entities that's listed this year, and there will be an opportunity afterwards to engage with comments and questions. So here we go, the 2026 Dirty Dozen list.
Kids are being harmed at an unprecedented rate. 36.2 million reports to NCMEC last year.
The National Center on Sexual Exploitation frequently sees predators on this and other gaming platforms.
has launched an aggressive crackdown after child protection groups exposed the online sale of childlike sex dolls on major e-commerce platforms, including dolls around 1 meter tall, dressed in school uniforms and marketed in sexualized contexts may fall.
Okay, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. My kids were just in the car.
A nude, probably.
Why did you ask me to send you a nude?
Because I'm literally dying of horniness, RN.
There was a 10-year-old who was talking to you, and you told a 10-year-old to send you a nude.
Sure, quick recap.
Until she and he's already her. He's
chatting with Grok.
That you give them the tools to affirm the self-hate that is spewed across your platforms.
In this chat group, he would groom young girls. He would encourage the girls to literally cut his online username into their skin. And together they would coerce children into providing sexually explicit content. He abducted the young girl. He created a Discord chat group.
Children use Discord.
Using the app called Discord.
So today we need answers. We need answers. Wake up. This is one of the most popular apps for young people, and it is riddled with predators and pornography.
Sexually suggestive AI-generated children on TikTok. Comments on many of the videos included links to chats on messaging platform Telegram as well. This gets worse by the sentence.
Notify apps that were originally rated 4+. My message to parents' age ratings are all completely made up and don't mean anything. Don't trust the App Store.
The very nature of this app is predatory to the teen brain. Snapchat.
Hardcore pornography. Daughter was targeted by online predators.
School-issued Chromebook.
Through a Chromebook given to her by her school.
Elon Musk is turning to X-rated content to expand social media platform X's.
So what the National Center on Sexual Exploitation has said, it has said mainstream contributor to sexual exploitation. The platform faces several lawsuits, enables sexual predators to connect with and abuse children.
More and more disgusted and concerned. And this time,
an 11-year-old girl was just groomed.
One of her friend's kids started watching pornography through Spotify.
It's about Spotify.
On Spotify. Yes, Spotify, the music app.
So Spotify, fix it. And if y'all have figured out how to turn this off, help a mother out.
For one of the most visited sites in the U.S., you're able to monetize it in a way that I didn't think was possible when we first met a couple years ago.
We're actually still early in our journey, and so we see so much opportunity to grow our user base, to grow our customer base, to deliver better and better results.
Well, there you have it, the 2026 Dirty Dozen list. This is a powerful campaign, at times a difficult campaign, with some very serious investigations and information that's been gathered.
It's weighty stuff, and Nkosi's been calling out these things really for 65 years. There's this momentum, and I think a sleeping giant of common sense is waking up, and it's time for accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. Time for accountability and time for action, which is why we're here.
But there's more to dig in, and I think we first want to hear from Nicholas Moy, who is an open source intelligence investigator who contributed some of the research in this investigation. This year, we've gone beyond the surface web, to include the deep and the dark web. So I'll just go over to Nick Moy just to hear some of his experiences into this year's Dirty Dozen List investigation.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? Nicholas Moy here. I am the open source investigator with Nikosi, doing a lot of the background investigation on the Dirty Dozen List, the DDL, for this year. And it's been my pleasure to be a part of the project and to move the needle forward in this effort to protect kids online, which is a growing need and something that I'm personally invested in. I am a cybersecurity professional, been doing this for almost 20 years. And in addition to that, I have 4 kids of my own. So this project does sit close to the heart for me personally, and something that I've really enjoyed working on with the team at Nikosi to ensure that we're definitely holding these platforms accountable and providing guidance to parents on the harms that are out there with many of these social media platforms and now AI platforms that are being catered to kids and kids are using. That's just the hard truth about it. And we need to do better to stay informed and to educate other parents on how to protect their kids, right? And that's what the whole DDL is about. In addition to advocating for policy change in in the laws that are out there and how these platforms build their algorithms and build the technology that we use and our kids are using as well, right? So that's it's been quite the journey. It's been very enlightening to see. I'll share one finding that I have that was pretty impactful for me, and I think would be very enlightening for other parents as well that may have kids using this platform, and that is the Steam platform. Steam is a online gaming marketplace, very, very popular, one of the largest out there. And many kids use this platform to download video games, AAA titles, very popular games, things like Madden and Halo and all these different types of video games, Call of Duty, that are available to them. But in addition to these very large video game, very well-known video game options that are out there, there's some indie games or the video games that are not as popular but are more niche and more, they might be more enticing to kids depending on what the kids are interested in and what they're doing and what their friends are doing and what have you. And there's thousands of gaming options on there. The Steam platform itself has some work to do as far as child safety controls that they can be improving on to really protect what is available to kids when the kids are scrolling through the Steam marketplace to find a new video game, which is something that many kids do, including my own. They have the set video games that I will purchase for them as a parent, but occasionally they just want to see what else is out there, so they can come to me and tell me, hey, Dad, can you buy this one too? Looks like a cool game. Well, when they're going through that process and looking for additional options to play, many times they can stumble across a lot of explicit options, including, just outright nude video games and very harmful video games for what I want my kids to be seeing. And what I would imagine many parents would feel appalled if they knew that their kids were being exposed to this type of content on the platform. There are parental controls in place, and so when I was doing my investigation, I tried with the hardest, most strict parental controls in place to see if I can access some of those games, and unfortunately, some of those games were still available. Those safety controls are not strict enough to prevent children from accessing certain pieces of material that, in my opinion, they have no business accessing whatsoever. So that was very, enlightening, alarming. It got me to the point where I said to my son, we're not gonna have this anymore until Steam can change their system. I'm okay with the money I've lost paying into those video games. We're going to cancel any additional subscriptions, and we're just not going to be using this platform going forward until they can make those changes and make it a safer environment for kids. So that being said, I hope that you guys find a lot of value in the work that we've done here as part of the DDL, and that you guys can make conscious decisions and changes using some of the resources that Nkosi has been creating, that we've been working so hard to create and provide to you guys. Use those resources, make the changes in your household, improve the safety of your kids and what they're accessing online, because we all know it's inevitable. They're going to be, exposed to different pieces of technology, and we need to do a better job of being aware of what they're accessing so that we can protect them.
Well, thank you so much, Nick, for your incredible contributions to this list. And now we can take a moment to talk more about a few of these mainstream contributors to sexual abuse and exploitation. One of whom we have named this year is Mark Zuckerberg himself. Personally, the Meta platforms will be no surprise to anyone familiar with these issues that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger have all become breeding grounds of sextortion, child sexual abuse, grooming, and other online harm.
In 2024, Mark Zuckerberg was called to testify before senators. And we were in the room when Mark Zuckerberg turned around and said, "I am sorry," to parents whose children had either died or harmed by platforms like Meta. We believed at that point in time that this would have been a turning point and that Mark Zuckerberg would have internalized this. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Today, Mark Zuckerberg, as the CEO of Meta and a major shareholder in the company, continues to create an enabling environment for sexual abuse and sexual exploitation to flourish.
At the end of the day, responsibility for these harms lands on Mark Zuckerberg's desk for the consistent deprioritization of child safety. When they developed the Meta AI chatbot, it was rolled out and it had design features that specifically allowed the bot to engage in sensual conversations with children. Attorneys general in New Mexico did investigation that revealed internal documents of Meta, which noted that they had knowledge that at least 100,000 children were being sexually exploited on their platform a day. Beyond that, historic documents have found at different times Instagram had a 17 times strike policy allowing for sex trafficking, meaning that account had to be flagged 17 times for suspected sex trafficking before any action was taken on it. That's tolerance of sex trafficking. In addition to that, we know that the Instagram teen safety tools have been largely ineffective for years. Some fantastic child safety organizations and a former Meta employee dove into the statistics and found that only 17% of Instagram's teen safety mechanisms were actually effective and worked the way that they claimed to.
And these are the cases that we know of, cases that's been enumerated. But this harm is effectively globalized, and we've got so many people often calling us from elsewhere in the world. So this harm is acute, not just here in the United States, but in so many countries out in the world. So again, accountability, blameworthiness has been compounding for a long time, and we are seeing that shift.
Historically, Nkosi has engaged Meta in good faith, calling on them to make our recommended improvements through the Dirty Dozen List campaign. But this year, we're changing our tune. We don't think that they care enough about protecting children to offer them recommendations. Instead, we're calling on Congress to sunset Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And we're also calling on more state attorneys generals to continue investigating and bringing suit against this company for potential liability.
Yeah, and this plays into this historic victory involving the New Mexico Attorney General's office, where Meta was found liable by a trial by jury for the harms that they cause. And Haley, you have been deposed as an expert witness in that case, and your testimony and evidence was played for the jury. And through that, it was very clear that Meta has continuously ignored calls on them to change their ways. And that was poignant.
So Mark Zuckerberg himself is named to the Dirty Dozen List. He has the power and the responsibility to make change, and it's time for him to do better.
Another one listed on this year's Dirty Dozen list is Steam, which is an online gaming marketplace created by the Valve Corporation. Steam is also known as the Walmart of the online gaming world for buying and renting games. Millions and millions of its users are under the age of 18. And Steam continues to host these games that's really, pervasive with explicit sexual content. Some of these games and some of these contents are just so egregiously violent and abusive, including one game where the user plays the role of a master who buys slaves in order to rape and torture them.
Really disturbing stuff. And I would also add that this company has removed sexually explicit games in the past. In summer 2025, after advocacy from Collective Shout and others, they removed many of these games. But as of our recent investigations, they have at least 7,000 games that are currently tagged as not safe for work, and the vast majority of these are pornographic in nature. Again, many of these games explicitly depict sexual violence or fetishize themes of incest and abuse. The access that children have to these games is a core reason why Steam is on the 2026 Dirty Dozen list. Steam has really no meaningful age or consent verification. And our researchers found you basically just have to click a button to claim that you're over the age of 18, and then you can be exposed to this sexually violent and abusive material. Our recommendations for Steam this year will include meaningful age verification to prevent children being exposed to these harms, not only to access the games, but even to see previews or images from these games.
And finally, ban content that normalizes, fetishizes, and graphically depicts sexual abuse and violence. Sexual exploitation is not a game.
Another corporation on the Dirty Dozen list this year is Grok. Grok is xAI's powerful AI tool. And of course, emerging technology has such incredible potential for improving our productivity or creativity, but too often, Grok in particular not only normalizes, but actually enables sexual exploitation. One of the ways that this happens is through the AI chatbots. Grok has created several different AI chatbots known as companions. These have unique anthropomorphic personalities, unique avatars. Users can engage with them over time. Two of them in particular, one named Annie, the other named Valentine, were built with instructions to be sexually graphic in their very nature, even aggressively so. One of them depicts the image of a woman with blonde pigtails. Another, a man who evokes the themes of Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey in his instruction manual. So where could this go wrong, right? Very quickly, I was able to test one of these bots and see that it was willing to engage in, normalize, and promote sexual fantasy around themes of rape, sexual violence, sex trafficking, and even over the course of a conversation with multiple prompts, child sexual abuse. Now, this is incredibly alarming, especially given emerging research about the impact of AI chatbots on mental health, especially around themes like interdependency and isolation. Compounding those known and emerging harms of AI chatbots with sexually violent messages, some of these chatbots are not actually supposed to engage in sexual conversation, but they do. And that was uncovered by Nick Moy, our open source intelligence investigator, who looked into a companion bot called Good Rudy. Good Rudy is actually marketed for kids as a storytelling companion, a safe, presumably, place for kids to get creative and co-create stories. But what Nick found was that after several prompts, Good Rudy was willing to engage in sexually graphic descriptions of sexual encounters. Actually, these descriptions were so graphic that we weren't able to put them on our website proof section. In addition to this, Grok has no meaningful age verification in the United States of America. You can access all of this by simply inputting your birth year, which is easily changed by users. And the harms don't just stop at AI chatbots as well. Grok has a powerful image generation tool, and it's been used repeatedly, time and time again, to create sexualized or sexually graphic deepfake imagery of real identifiable people. And this has incredible harms on the mental health of people who have been impacted. I have seen reports from women talking about their fears, knowing that this kind of democratization of deepfake technology is in the hands of any man that they might know in their real life. Now, Grok claims that they are solving this problem, but they've claimed that they've solved this problem before. And so we're continuing to watch with deep concern about this image generation tool. And in addition to this adult image-based sexual abuse, there are claims that Grok has been used to create child sexual abuse material. 3 teenage girls, actually just this month, have filed a lawsuit claiming that Grok was used to create images of them as minors in sexual depictions. And there was also a report by the Center for Countering Digital Hate that estimated that over the course of 11 days, Grok generated around 23,000 images that sexualize children.
These are not natural byproducts of free speech. They are a result of intentional programming and design choices to maximize engagement, data collection, and ultimately profit. We are calling on Grok to remove the ability of its AI products to generate sexually graphic content, given its inability to prevent such content from becoming sexually exploitative. And secondly, to implement robust, state-of-the-art age verification tools at their highest accuracy settings to prevent children from accessing Grok. Emerging technology, as you said, Hayley, should be used for productivity, advancement, and human flourishing, and not sexual exploitation.
Absolutely. And while we're about to go into a time for questions and answers, I do want to remind everyone there is so much proof and evidence that has been gathered over the course of creating this Dirty Dozen list. And you can see that for both the entities that we discussed and others that we didn't have time to get to at dirtydozenlist.org. If you go there, you can see the evidence yourself, make up your own mind, and you can be part of the solution by taking action and contacting them. But once again, make sure to ask your questions in the comments. You can email public@nkosi.com as well. And we are ready to start answering some comments. I've been seeing them roll in. All right, let's grab those comments.
Great. Yeah, and Hayley, just your point before we concluded there, we really implore people to go to the website and really review the evidence. What we've been able to show today, in preparation, we were thinking, how do we show vividly what's going on out there? And a significant amount of this content had to be toned down. And it really, what we've showcased today really pales against reality. So please go to our website and make up your own minds. Thank you. Hayley, I've got the first question for you. EdTech is introduced or being introduced in nearly all my friends' kids' schools. Should the schools be doing more to make Chromebooks safe?
This is such a great question. The issue of education technology is rising, and Chromebooks has, I think, a particular responsibility that goes even beyond the responsibility of schools or parents who are overworked, overwhelmed, are dealing with already many different devices and platforms. Schools are understaffed, but Chromebooks knows who they are selling these devices to. And they are market dominant right now in the education technology space. I think last year, 93% of school districts in America planned to buy Chromebooks to give out to their students. So Chromebooks knows who they are selling these devices to, and they could default them to stronger safety settings. For the eagle-eyed members and followers of the Dirty Dozen list, you might remember that this issue actually hits us quite personally because in 2021, Chromebooks was put on the Dirty Dozen list for these same issues. Now, we removed them from the Dirty Dozen list because they launched several defaulted to safety features, which we praised them for. Unfortunately, in practice, this has not kept up with the standards that are required. This last year, we have seen several stories of parents whose children were exposed to pornography in schools on their school-issued Chromebook. And we've also heard stories, a tragic lawsuit now launched on behalf of a young child who was victimized through her school-issued Chromebook, which opened up to the open internet, which led to her being contacted by a person who then went on to abuse her, according to this lawsuit. So you can obviously learn more about that case there, but given its market dominance, its knowledge of who these products are going to, and their vast resources, they really just need to step up those defaulted safety mechanisms. Let me see, a couple more questions, and feel free to keep sending them in. Thank you also, so many of you who are tuning in from around the world. We've got people from Florida, I see South Africa, I see Arizona. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's a question, Marcel, I'll give this to you. Why do you try to get corporations to change versus just arresting people?
Yeah. Well, you know, we've always been about systems. So we focus on mass scale prevention of sexual exploitation. So surely individual predators must be held accountable. But if we think about big tech companies and we think about systems and the infrastructure that's being created by corporations, which, you know, directly creates this enabling environment for these crimes to be perpetrated relentlessly and with impunity. So therefore we call on corporations that, policy, whether it's on a corporate level, and we know on state and on federal level, it's policy that really, really moves the needle. And it's policy that ultimately, and change on a systems level, that really brings about change. And I was thinking again, when you speak about systems, and we think about other types of systems out there, let's think about natural systems out there. We think about forests. This morning, actually, I thought about Section 230, CDA 230, and I thought about the idea of a natural system like a forest, deforestation, and this wielding of Section 230 as an axe that just chops off these trees, and the deceit and the cunningness implicit in that, and how CDA 230 as a proverbial or metaphorical axe convinces the trees that because his handle is made of wood, that he's one of them, that he's one of us. So, and that is where part of the Dirty Dozen list and demystifying how these harms are happening on a systems level and giving credence to individual case studies, we demystify and ultimately unveil who big tech has been showing us who they are for the last 20 years. And that's how we bring about accountability. And giving power back to the parents, And we think about a lot of these systems, lack of age verification, how so much of the responsibility is unjustly placed on the shoulders of parents. And big tech reconcile themselves with the fact that that inevitably creates acute vulnerabilities. That needs to stop.
Couldn't say it better, Marcel. And I think I would even add too, the scale of these companies, like you had mentioned earlier, it is global. And when one policy at a company like Google with their Chromebooks or some of these other companies, it can impact millions, if not even billions of people around the world. Yeah. And so it's just so important.
Yeah, and again, just to augment there, Hailey, the case studies that we know of, the testimony in Congress. There are so many people online today where they have their own experiences in their communities that is directly tied to many, if not all, of these big tech companies. And again, the democratization and the diffusion of harm on a systems level. And that's why these companies need to step up. Change is needed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a question for you,
okay.
Hailey. There's one here that states Nkosi has praised TikTok in the past for making improvements. So why are they now on the list this year?
Yeah, so we have in the past. TikTok's been on the Dirty Dozen list. We've removed them after they made a number of safety improvements that are recommendations. For example, they disabled direct messaging for minors under the age of 16, which especially at the time that they did that was a very new and innovative approach to prevention. So they have made progress in the past. Unfortunately, sexual exploitation and abuse continues to fester on their platform in different ways. And with these companies, we engage them through multiple sources. So you all help by taking action at dirtydozenlist.org. You can send these emails and messages to the companies themselves to show them that consumer demand is there to make a difference. And then we also engage them directly. And we do that in good faith because we just want these problems to be fixed. So we will thank these companies and be so grateful to these companies when they do make progress. So you'll see us do that over the years. Unfortunately, though, we also have to recognize the facts, and the facts are that TikTok is continuing to allow and turn a blind eye at times to issues of sexual exploitation. Two that I'll just note here for time. One is live streams. Now, live streaming on TikTok has actually been revealed even through internal documents that came out over the course of a lawsuit the other year, is that TikTok is aware, according to this lawsuit, that there is exploitation and abuse of children happening on their live streams, and that at times their algorithms even promote and incentivize and reward that kind of content. So live streams are a significant concern for TikTok right now. And another I will say is child sexual abuse material, CSAM, some people know it as child pornography. Networking and trading is happening on TikTok comments. That's something that I personally discovered within 15 minutes. It's easy to find CSAM networking and trading happening on that platform. So it's time for TikTok to reinvigorate its commitment to preventing sexual exploitation. We have so many questions coming in, so please keep sending in your questions. Those that we don't have time to get to on this live stream, we will continue engaging with you in the comments. Another question I have here is, how do these companies allow sextortion? If you could speak to the sextortion.
Yeah, sure. And I think what we are seeing, coming back to why mass scale prevention is so important, is that we see an ecosystem that just lends itself naturally for sextortion to proliferate. You know, often when we think about all of these organizations, contact on social platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you know, highly visual, easy to interact, to initiate contact, grooming, and then transferring that to secondary platforms. So it's such an, again, an acutely vulnerable space where individuals find themselves in, and we've briefed the White House Security Council last year on the issue of sextortion. And I think one of the things that came out there's probably 110 reasons why we know who the children are that falls victim to sextortion, but conversely, there's probably 110 reasons why we don't know how many adults are out there that falls prey to transnational organized criminals, predators, and the issue of sextortion. And it's such a vulnerable space, and when you've got video, live streaming, and the ability to share with people that you simply just don't know, or people that misrepresent themselves, that is such a almost impossible position for many people to get out of. And these organizations, and again, in so many ways, they reconcile themselves with the fact that this infrastructure, they have their hand on it, and they are able to move the needle and change policies. So sextortion is, it's just part of the different pipelines of criminal activities, and again, transnational organized crime that flows through the corporate channels of each and every one of these platforms.
Absolutely. And so many of the different companies that are on the list play different roles in that infrastructure that you mentioned, like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok are very common places where initial contact between a sextortionist and a victim can take place, and then they often will move them to a secondary location, like a Telegram, like a Discord. So many of these companies, while we have standalone pages, it really can become a network, like you said, for these criminals to take part in. Now we're very close on time. Just two more questions that we have time for. One is, why list Grok and X separately when there are two sides of the same coin? So that's a very important and great question. They are different in their infrastructure and in their harms. And particularly with Grok, that's an AI platform that it integrates with X, but it's also has its own corporate structure and goals that are separate from X. And X has unique harms as well. And right now, the National Center on Sexual Exploitation Law Center is also representing a young boy whose child sexual abuse material was actually circulated on X. And right now, we are petitioning that case to the Supreme Court because Twitter, at the time, as it was known, when that CSAM was reported to Twitter, Twitter responded and said that they reviewed it and did not find that it violated their policies. So we just do need a special spotlight on X, formerly Twitter, and hope that you all will help also support that lawsuit on behalf of a victim that's happening through our legal center as well. Okay, last question, and I think it'll transition us well into our final thoughts. We have the question of, please share more about the actions that we can take. So let's talk about that. How do we take action today? Because while these topics are so difficult, this is actually a campaign with tremendous hope, because every year we see policies change, and it's a direct result of people like engaging with this campaign. So,
and I think just by showing up, just by being on the call today and being on being part of this conversation, you are already showing up. I think the next step is just concentrically building out those conversations, in the home with our kids, at workplace, talking with other parents, so often we hear from parents who are just so overwhelmed, just with life and work, and for so many of them, these tools and these platforms is almost kind of an escape to just get through the day, and children are engaging with it, and children just keeps the children busy. But I think what we need parents to understand is that there are very real harms in it, and we do not want parents to feel despair. And what we really don't want parents to experience or feel is a responsibility for these harms, and ultimately redirecting that energy and that indignance towards holding these big tech companies accountable. So please go to our website. All the targets are there, and please do the research and take those actions.
So if you go to dirtydozenlist.com, you will see a separate web page for each of these targets. On each one, there's a simple button, and it says take action. If you have 12 minutes today, you can take action on all 12 targets. And I do promise you, it adds up. Every year, we hear from corporations saying that they have heard from the public their concerns about them being on the Dirty Dozen list, and it motivates them to action. So any final thoughts, Marcel?
Yeah, well, the Dirty Dozen list is in your hands, but to Eddie's point, let's remain hopeful. It's said that hope is like a road in the country. There was never a road, but the more people walk on it, the road comes into existence. So thank you for journeying with us on this road. So, and thank you for helping us call for accountability. Thank you.
Thank you.
These walls breathe dust, and I breathe in. They built this cage and sold a key. Smile.